Hello and welcome back to VHawks Podcast. I'm Tyler, and as always, I'm joined by Matt. Today, we're going to give a week one preview, but before that, we're going to break down all 32 teams very quickly, very concisely, kind of give ourselves some estimations of where we see them finishing this year, maybe a playoff seeding, overall record, things of that nature. And then we'll dive into a breakdown of each matchup, give our opinions on it, and argue a little bit about who we think is going to win the match and should be a pretty good episode.
So Tyler, I'm going to go through all 32 teams, and I'm going to go through the amount of wins I've expected the team to get. This is not a perfect number, so this is just where through the schedule, the amount of games I think they can win. So starting with the best team in the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals,
Ah,
I think
yes.
they're going to get the number one seed with one win.
I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable.
All right. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like they'll have a decent year with 8 wins. Um, Depending on where that division ends up, that might be enough. We'll just have to see on that one. But what's your thoughts?
As much as I hate to agree with you, I'm gonna agree with you again. Eight wins sounds pretty good. I think the winner of that division is looking at 8 or 9 wins, and like I said on the last episode, it's either going to be the Falcons or the Saints. So sounds good to me.
Sorry. So next up with the Baltimore Ravens. This is still depending on where um, Joe Burrow's injury is. Um, as you know, they play in week 2 against the Baltimore Ravens. I have the Ravens at 9 wins. I feel like that's a tough division where it might just cannibalize itself, where all of them are more average records rather than one team really getting out there. But what's your thoughts?
It's definitely a tough division. I agree with you there. I think the Ravens finally have added enough offensive firepower to compete in that division a little bit more than they have been, and they did just make a wild card recently. So I'll personally bump it up to 10 or 11, but I don't think you're too far off with the nine.
Okay, Buffalo Bills. Now, before going to this number, I feel like this number of wins doesn't match the talent level on the team. I just feel like this is a might be one of the toughest schedules, if not the toughest schedule in the league. And I don't think Buffalo has improved over the offseason. We'll see where their injuries end up. But you and me have agreed that Buffalo has a very tough schedule. I could only find
Extremely
7 wins in there.
extremely tough schedule. The hard part, I think, is looking at some of those wins and trying to figure out, okay, it's a toss up, and you got to pick a couple of the coin flips for the Bills. I see it more of a 9 win season for the Bills, maybe 10. I think they could manage to slide into that wild card depending on how that division shakes out. They may even get the 4 seed. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't think they're going to fall off too far to 7, but I don't see another, 11, 12 win season. So I think we're looking more around 9, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Next up, the Carolina Panthers. Their schedule is a little tough at the beginning. A lot of division opponents, specifically with Atlanta and New Orleans, and then some tough games after that. I feel like once the year progresses, there'll be a team that is probably going to be out of it by mid-year, but will be that team that snatches a win or two away from these playoff opponents or playoff teams that need these wins but are overlooking this team and they get caught up in one or two. I ended up with the Carolina Panthers around 8 wins. That might be too many in my opinion, but I feel like as the year progresses, I feel like Bryce Young will improve.
Yeah, I mean, like we've mentioned before, the O line is just not good. They struggled in the preseason against not even starting players, and he's got to run for his life. It's a rookie quarterback, so I mean, personally, and I also like I said, I saw the Saints and Ravens kind of competing for the number one in the division around 8 or 9 wins, probably where whoever wins that division is going to end up. So I
Ravens?
personally see the Panthers as six or sorry, Falcons. Um, Falcons or Saints. And I personally think they're going to get 8 or 9, whoever wins that one between those two. So for me personally, I think I'd see the Panthers around 6 or 7 wins. But again, I think we're not too far off from each other. It sounds like
And you gave me so much difficulty for forgetting Lamar Jackson last week. But moving on.
Well, that's
Um,
forgetting a major quarterback. I just said the wrong team briefly.
Debatable.
And they are right next to each other on the list. So,
All right, with the Chicago Bears, I feel like this is still a building year. For right now, this is where I see they're at. Now, Justin Fields takes the next step, and DJ Moore is that number one guy. I could see them getting up to around 8 or 9. I have them at 5 right now, which, in my opinion, is kind of low, but it's still a difficult schedule. That division isn't, it's a toss up division, but it's not an easy division like some of these other divisions.
yeah, I mean, you have the Packers who beat them every year, but the question is, does Aaron Rodgers actually just have that luck against them and the skill, or is it just the team that's good? Is it just a bad matchup for the Bears? Obviously, the Vikings and the Lions are high octane offenses. So I mean, and well coached teams. So you never know in that division. And I hate doing division rivals because I always feel like it's gonna jinx me in the end. So uh I feel like they'll do a little bit better. I hope not, but yeah, I think you're not wrong for predicting 5 though, because I mean you're improving from last year, but you're not jumping the gun. I think the Bears hype has gone a bit out of control. I understand the Lions hype, not so much the Bears from what the media has been talking about.
That's fair. Okay, so next up, Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this all depends on Joe Burrow's injury, like I was saying earlier. With two division opponents right off the bat with Cleveland and Baltimore, the Bengals' playoff chances could be in jeopardy if they go 0-2 to start the season. As we've said before, AFC's loaded. But right now, this prediction is with Joe Burrow playing on Sunday or Cleveland just trashes the bed like normal and he's back by week 2. I have them winning 12 games, which might be a bit high, but it just depends on how Joe Burrow is when he returns.
Right. Honestly, I think our differences with the Ravens and the Bengals might just be that week 2 matchup. I personally see the Bengals winning their week 1 and then dropping week 2 to the Ravens, no matter if Joe Burrow's there or not.
That's right.
Um, so I think that that's our only difference. So I see them competing for whatever seed they'll be in the AFC. So, and the other one will be a wild card is likely what I see
Yeah.
there.
Okay, so on to the Cleveland Browns. I feel it's like, sorry. I feel like one of those teams in that division have to be near the bottom, and I think it's either going to be the Steelers just because of quarterback or Cleveland just because of the whole roster. Um, I have Cleveland with 8 wins, just to be one of those teams that they just aren't able to get over the hump. I feel like they've lost pieces. I don't feel like they're getting that much better in a division that the Steelers have an amazing defense. Baltimore has a loaded roster now with the weapons they got over the offseason. That defense for Ravens is still good. And the Bengals, I just can't bet against Joe Burrow with the amount of success he has. So I just feel like Cleveland's going to be that team just left behind in that division.
Exactly. I agree with that. I mean, you look at the Browns, I mean, they've got some great pieces on that roster. I mean, you got Miles Garrett, you got Nick Chubb obviously leading that rushing attack. But I mean, the problem is other than those two, the X factor, you're kind of looking for that thing that takes you over the edge, like a Joe Burrow, like a Lamar Jackson, like the Steelers defense. And you just I don't think you see it with the Cleveland Browns. So I'd agree. A decent schedule for the year, but not enough to make playoffs.
I feel like
Or I
this
mean,
year,
decent record rather.
I feel like this year will really say whether or not Deshaun Watson was worth it. We're not going to get into what he did, but the
Yeah,
question of
can he get back to football
yeah,
form?
can he
That's the
be
question.
what he was with the Texans before that incident occurred?
Yeah,
Um,
what was it? People calling him Houdini or something? Yeah. Can he get back to that?
because at that point, other than the Texans just being a bad team, some people saw him as a top 10, if not top 5 quarterback in the league. If he can get back to that, I feel like Cleveland could probably make a jump and at least challenge that division. But from what we saw last year, it'll depend. But
Exactly. And on this show, we're tending to stick with safer picks as far as whether we think the quarterbacks are going to make huge jumps, hence our Bears pick as well. So just know whenever you're watching this, everyone, that we are not going to buy into all the hype going into quarterbacks who have yet to prove it, going into prove it years. We're going to generally give them a couple wins, but we're not going to say, oh, they're going to jump from 3 wins to 10 wins just because the quarterback's going to be amazing. That's not something we're really going to jump onto here. We got to see it to believe it, but we will definitely come back on this show and admit that we are wrong if that does happen.
all right, so on to the Cowboys. I just feel like they're going to have some easy games. You have Arizona, New England. Um, I feel like Washington's still that one team in the division that, other than like the Week 17 game where Dallas just was sleeping on the field. Actually, no, Week 18. My bad. Um, other than that game, I just don't really see Washington being a good team with that. But back to the Cowboys, I have them with 10 wins, which with the NFC in that division, I feel like is a fair amount. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't have them beating the Eagles for that division. I think this will be the first time in 18 years, I believe, that they'll have a back-to-back division winner as the same team in both years. So I think that that's a solid estimation for them. They'll definitely make a wild card, but I don't think they're beating the Eagles for the Kings of the East. So I think that's fair.
Okay, so on to the Broncos. Now, with them being the in last place for the AFC West last year, they have a bit of an easier schedule. I feel like Las Vegas has fallen off, and the Chargers haven't really made that many additions to get better. Um, so I feel like I don't think they're going to win many tough games, but I feel like with Sean Payton, a lot of those one score or closer games last year, I feel like they can flip them. I have Denver with 10 wins. Um, if the Russell Wilson Sean Payton experiment completely fails, I could probably put a floor around 5 wins at most if it fails.
Yeah, I mean, the question is that offense. The defense can carry them, but only for so long. So, yeah, I'd say 10's good, but you look at that they've got to be able to steal a tough game. That's the other thing. They've got to be able to beat the Chiefs or at least sweep the Raiders or maybe split with the Chargers as well. They've got to be able to pull out one of those extra games in division to be able to do it. So, I think it's possible. I agree.
Having technical difficulties. Hold on. All right. So on to the Detroit Lions. Um, I feel like they could take a step forward this year. With their schedule, I have them around 9 wins. I feel like with them coming into this year, it's going to be the same for the Seahawks. That surprise factor that came in last year, where not too many people were expecting either team to be good. That's kind of gone away, especially with a lot of the hype that both teams have gotten. So I feel like Detroit could probably win out 9 games if they're able to take that leap forward like everybody expects. Could be more around 10, 11. We'll just have to see.
Honestly, my opinion for the Lions, it's going to be between the Lions and the Vikings for me. I've said it many times that they're one of them will win the North. I think the other one will make a wild card in the NFC. So basically, what I see is one of the teams will make either 11 wins or they'll both make 10, and one will have the tiebreaker. Packers will get 9. The Bears will get anywhere from 5 to 8. That's personally my predictions there. So I see no problem with 10 wins for the Lions or 9, I believe you said. So it's
Well, for
also.
Green Bay, how about 9 wins, like you were
I mean
predicting?
that's what
Um,
I said. That
yeah.
works.
So not too much debate there. For the Houston Texans, like we've said before many times, I just feel like Houston's going to be one of those teams where they're still building this year. I feel like they could take some steps again, like we've said with the Panthers. I feel like it could be one of those teams that steals 1 or 2 games, especially in that division where one team is the kryptonite for another team in that division where all 4 teams get beat by somebody.
Exactly.
that you least expect. So for the Houston Texans, I have them around 7 wins.
7 wins for the Texans. That might be jumping it a little bit. I might call you on that one. I personally think that the Cardinals are going to luck out for 2024 because they're going to get two top five draft picks. And I personally saw the Houston Texans around 3 or 4 wins. That's where I was looking at. I think 2 or 3 of those will come in division, and they'll steal 1 or 2 from teams that overlook them or teams coming off a bye week, is what I'm thinking there.
So just to put you for my reasoning, I have them beating Indianapolis at home and at Jacksonville as 2 games they steal.
Okay.
I have them beating Carolina as just a. I feel like that Houston Texan roster has a bit more pieces, especially on that defensive side compared to the Panthers offensive line. I feel like they just could give Bryce Young a lot of difficulties that day. I have them beating Tampa Bay, Arizona, and then stealing both games at Tennessee. I feel a part of it is I just feel Tennessee usually later in the year starts to collapse, and I just expect them to do that again.
Gotcha. I might meet you in the middle at 5 then, if that's the
Okay.
case, because out of all the games you saw on that schedule, the only ones I would disagree with is I don't see them beating the Buccaneers. I don't see them beating the Titans twice, but
Okay.
I could see one. So
Okay, for the Indianapolis Colts, I just feel like this is going to be a rebuilding year. Jonathan Taylor is going to be a story we hear about the whole year, at least until the trade deadline. And then once we get to the offseason, if he's still on that roster, I feel like we're just going to start hearing about it again. I have them only getting around 6 wins. I just don't really like the roster right now. I feel like it's just in a total rebuild. That's all I really got to say for that one.
feel like that's fair. I honestly feel like I want to drop them with the Texans. I feel like they're gonna be competing for well, the two Texans are gonna be competing for Arizona's draft pick, and Indianapolis is gonna be competing for their own draft pick. But I feel like they're gonna be around the same win total, if I'm being honest, because Jonathan Taylor being out the first 4 games obviously doesn't help things. And then who knows what's gonna happen when he actually does come back. And again, you got another rookie quarterback trying to figure things out. I mean, he's got a couple more pieces there, but doesn't, when you think of that team, I don't really see a bunch of star quality there either. So I don't know, man. I think those two teams are looking for top five draft picks as well.
On to
So
the third team in that division, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel like with Calvin Ridley, that offense at least has become a little bit more restart that. I feel like it has become better, and I feel like 11 wins is probably fair for them. Again, you might have 1 or 2 that knocks them down to 9. Um, I just see them taking a step forward this year, and Trevor Lawrence making another step with Doug Peterson. Um, might be a bit much, but I just feel like in that division, if Jacksonville really makes that next step, it's going to be pretty easy for them to run through the division.
gotcha. And how much did you want to bet on that? Hey, we're not
11
in the
wins?
NFL. We can do it. But anyway, yeah, I think that's a fair take. I think they're the clear division favorites. Um, I think we disagree. I think I just picked the Titans for shock factor last episode. As far as just there's always one team that wins it that you don't expect. So um I mean I think that's fair though to give the division favorite uh the highest prediction as of right now. That's
Okay.
fine.
On to the Kansas City Chiefs. I have them around 0 wins.
Yeah. I mean, you look at that team again, no roster.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Who's on the roster?
some kid, Patrick Starr from Bikini Bottom. I mean, I hear that kid can ball. I mean, I've heard some things about him, and he's got a temper. doesn't understand the playbook, but I mean, apparently he can get out there. So I don't know. But no, I mean so what's your actual prediction for the Chiefs?
Okay, in all seriousness, I have them around 13 wins. I just feel like Kansas City usually just strolls through the regular season until they get to the playoffs, then they go up to that next level. So I don't really see them going 17 and 0. I feel like they'll drop a few games that they should win, but like the Colts game last year, there's just going to be some games they go out at like a dud. You'll lose some of those close games against better teams or same level teams. It's hard to go 17 and 0 in this league, and I just feel like even with Kansas City's roster, there might be one or two games where somebody finds a flaw and just exploits the hell out of it.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely not going 17 and 0. I don't see that at all. And I don't think it's even a hot take to say that they could finish anywhere from 10 to 13, 14 wins and they'll still make the AFC Championship at least. So, cuz they just go to another level when they're in the playoffs like you said. So, I totally see that.
All they care about is just getting in the playoffs.
Exactly. And once they make it, that nobody wants to face them.
No. Okay, on to the Las Vegas Raiders, who everybody wants to face right now with Jimmy Garoppolo at the head. I feel like this is going to be a year where they realize letting Derek Carr go was probably the worst mistake of their lives. I feel like some people are going to get fired for it. Um, I have them at 6 wins. I just feel like they've lost pieces to that roster, and even with Devonte Adams and Jacoby Myers, you have to have somebody to throw it to them. And I don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo because he'll probably be hurt by week 5. So
See, I actually think he might make his first healthy season. I just feel bad for people who have Devonte Adams on their fantasy rosters
that's fair.
because I don't think he's gonna pop off like he did last year. I had Devonte Adams last year in fantasy. He did tremendously for me. I don't think that's gonna happen with Jimmy Garoppolo as much as it did with Derek Carr.
No.
Um, but I mean, you do forget Jimmy G's been in a lot of championship games. He's even been to a Super Bowl. He can hand that ball off really well. The Packers couldn't stop it,
But this is
and
not
they
the
they they,
same
they had three
roster.
tries. They had 3 tries to do it too.
This is not the same roster as the 49ers where that system basically you can put any quarterback in. You or me could probably go in that system and at least get 5 wins.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And but I mean, there is still Josh Jacobs, assuming he actually plays and doesn't hold out or anything. Uh, Jimmy Garoppolo handing it off to Josh Jacobs, you got the best quarterback at handing the ball off. That's all I'm saying. So I mean, as long as you're not fumbling in the backfield, if he won't lose you the game. That's what I'm saying.
Until he
So I don't know,
does.
but I think I agree with the win total. They don't have enough else on the roster. Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and Max Crosby can't do it all.
All I will remind you is of last year with the 49ers versus the Denver Broncos and him running out the back of the end zone for the safety.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So on to the two LA teams. First with the Rams. I don't feel like they're going to suck this year. I just don't feel like they're going to be like a top 10 team. I feel like they're going to be one of those meddlers that you don't want to face them, but they're not going to be like the 49ers where they're tearing the league a new one. I have them around 9 wins, which I feel like is fair. The NFC is still not great, but with Cooper Cup having the setback, and Matthew Stafford having issues with the younger guys, I just feel like we're watching the beginning of the end of the FTP. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so I
I
feel like
I, I
this
feel
season will be
like
another year
it'll
that bites them.
right. I feel like they'll be kind of like the how it was at the end of last year with the Lions, the Seahawks, and the Packers all fighting for the 7th seed. I think they're one of those teams, and I think they're like the Packers and the Lions. They fall just a tiebreaker or a game short of the 7th seed. I think that's a fair assessment.
Okay. So to the other LA team that if you went to these games, you'd feel like it was a home game for the away team.
Every single game.
Chargers.
Yep.
Um, I just feel like in a loaded AFC where this, as we've said before, we don't wish injuries on anybody. We've just seen this team be rattled by injuries so much, and it's hard to say if they can stay healthy, but when they get injured, um, I feel like they'll still stay competitive. I feel like Justin Herbert's a decent QB, but as his career record, I have him around 500. I have him around 8 to 9 wins.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair as well. I mean, it's a loaded conference over there in the AFC. And when I look at the East and I look at the North, I see more wild card teams there than I do in the West and the South. Obviously, the South's probably only going to have one team make it at all. So I agree with that take as well. I think 8 or 9 wins sounds perfect for them. And unfortunately, they're looking at another year away, or actually they're choking. They're choking. Cost them. They're not going to see the playoffs at all. So they're not going to have an opportunity to choke, which should give some Chargers fans out there some happiness.
So I'm going to leave our two teams last. So I'm going to skip over the Vikings for a minute. Um, the New England Patriots.
You
Uh,
forgot the Dolphins.
I did. Yes, I did.
Wait, assuming you're doing alphabetical order, you did forget the
I am.
Dolphins.
So Miami, I like this roster. I feel like the defense has improved now because of some of the injuries, especially to their secondary. This number could probably tank. Um, I have them up to 14 wins. I feel like they have some easy wins in the schedule, and
Sorry, continue. Sorry.
especially with down in Miami. I don't think anybody wants to play there in 100 degrees in the humidity. Um, I just feel like if Tua takes the next step forward and can stay healthy, who's going to guard their offense? Like they can send Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill on vertical routes every single play. And what are you going to do? Somebody's beating you for a 75-yard touchdown. And I feel like that defense has improved. Bradley Chubb with the trade last year, I feel like he can be a good piece if he can stay healthy. Um, I just feel like another year in that system. And we saw them get to the playoffs with a second to third string quarterback that neither of those two guys could stay healthy either. So if Tua can stay healthy, I feel like this could be one of the top teams in the league this year.
Yeah, I mean the only dispute I have with that is again, your points are correct. The record prediction is a little bit exaggerated in my opinion, just because of the fact that they have one of the hardest schedules this league this year, if not the hardest. It might be the second hardest. I forget what exactly they're ranked as far as strength of schedule.
Okay, let me
Um,
tell you some of the teams they're facing real quick. The Chargers, New England, Denver, the Giants, Carolina, Las Vegas, Washington, Tennessee, and those were the easy wins that I could see for them.
right, exactly. Yeah. I see that. And again, so I see them as around 11 or 12. I think 14 is a little bit exaggerated. That's I think 11's more
Yeah.
around the ballpark of where I see them because again, they got to play the Jets twice. They got to play the Bills twice. I know we were a little low on the Bills because their schedule's really tough. They probably have the hardest schedule, but the Dolphins is no cakewalk either entirely, and that division is arguably the toughest division in football in terms of just the three teams, not including the Patriots. So I'm looking at they got to at least split with the Bills and Jets and some of their other games I'm looking at. I'm not sure. And again, it's hard to get that many wins in this league. Can Tua stay healthy? is that offensive line going to hold up enough? Can they drop a bunch of people back and take Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle out of the game? I don't know. They didn't go get that premier running back that they were looking that they were supposedly in on, the whole offseason. Is that going to come back and bite them in the butt? I don't know.
Though I would also say I would not give up Jalen Waddle for Jonathan Taylor. That's just my opinion.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about that. But they just didn't go pay a premier running back.
No.
So I'm saying if they did that, they couldn't just commit everybody to double teaming the receivers. They'd have to stack extra people in the box. But with Raheem Mostert back there, you can pretty much stack everybody in the backfield and prevent the long plays from happening, and then get good in the red zone. Play a bend but don't break defense essentially. So, however, if they had a Jonathan Taylor or a Dalvin Cook or somebody else in there, they'd have to put in another guy or two in the box, and that opens up more opportunities for that offense to cook. So I think there's some problems there. The defense obviously is also has a little bit of things, so they could get into some matches with Buffalo or the Jets, or even the Chargers, even where they're in the shootout, and it's
Yeah,
whoever has the ball last. I could see the Chargers stealing the game from the Dolphins. I could totally see that.
that's fair.
Um, so I think 14 is just a little bit too ambitious. When I don't think I'd call it 14 for any team in the league. If we're not calling it for the Chiefs, we're not calling it for anybody.
Okay, how
That's my
about
that's my
compromise of
prerogative.
12?
Yeah, that's fine. We'll say 12.
Yeah. So on to the Patriots next. As I said, we'll go back for the Vikings. Um, I feel like it's an end of an era, and I feel like this year will be another one of those years. I have them only getting 4 wins.
Yeah, I mean I'd go 5 or 6. So I mean either way, end of an era, not really relevant. Moving on to the Saints.
So for the Saints, I did not put this right. Actually,
You don't know how to spell either? Let's see. Does not know who Lamar Jackson is. Cannot
okay, no, no, no,
spell.
never mind. I was making sure I put the record right. I have them as 12 wins.
Gotcha. The Saints as 12 wins.
I feel like it's a weak division. I feel like Derek Carr can come in and provide some stability that they haven't had since Drew Brees. I feel like the other 3 teams in the conference or the division, one either just sucks and the other 2 are really young and inexperienced. So,
I did see the post that they have the easiest schedule, so I'm not arguing with that. However, 12 wins for that team, it is there's a lot of unproven guys on that team, such as Michael Thomas. Can he stay healthy? Can he go get back to his original form? Derek Carr on a new offense, things of that nature. Uh, I mean, they are my favorite, along with the Falcons, as I've said many times, to win that division. So I don't have a problem with them winning the division. I think 12 is a little bit much because I think there's still some teams that could take it from them. But I mean, their schedule is just so easy. It's tough. I feel like they'll drop a few, but uh, I mean, I mean, I have them as one of my teams who go win it, so I guess it doesn't really matter how they do it. I just don't. It's hard to just think of the Saints and think of 12 wins, man. That division. So
so to just knock out 2 birds in one stone real quick, with the New York teams, I have the Giants with 6 wins and the Jets with 10.
I'd probably bump both of those up by 2, maybe even 3. Um, well, the Jets only by 2. The Giants maybe by 3. Um, I think the Giants are set to possibly upset a few as well. They're probably going to be a team competing with the Rams for that 7 seed. They may fall up short, but I think there's still a team that competes. The Jets, I'm high on them. Is it because I've had to deal with Aaron Rodgers for so long and I know what he can do? Probably. Is it also because they had a great defense and with Zach Wilson at the helm and Matt White, they were still able to almost make the playoffs last year? Also, yes. I think he's the missing piece. I think they put it together and they could arguably win that division. I'm pretty high on them this year for that. He also brought over a lot of players he's familiar with. He's not throwing to rookies this year. Aaron Rodgers still went 8-9 with rookie wide receivers. So think I personally have them higher, and the Giants I think they're sneaky. I mean, I of course have to say that because they beat us in the divisional round. Then again, we also beat them in the regular seasons, and it's hard to beat a team twice. But I think that they're better than a lot of people give them credit for.
Okay, moving on to the Eagles. I have them with around 13 wins. I feel like they'll be a good team again this year. I feel like they've just taken steps forward rather than take steps back compared to these other teams. Um, Not saying the division or their schedule's a cakewalk, but when you face Tampa Bay, New England, Washington,
Yeah,
and the Rams within your first 5 weeks, that kind of helps you.
no dispute there. And for those of you who don't know, I actually can't see Matt's list. I'm hearing them for the first time, so I'm just gonna try and guess the Pittsburgh Steelers what he has his wins at. Let's just say it's 9 or 10, right?
Have them at 8.
Okay, I'll take that. I mean, I personally think the roster only got better, and he's got a record. Tomlin's not losing that record this year with that team. It's not
Yeah, I could see
happening.
them worth around 9 wins. But the 49ers, I feel I still I'm concerned about the um quarterback situation. You went
Really?
when you go from having some decent backups, Brock Purdy turned out to be a angel in disguise for them last year. Now with Sam Darnold as your number two, doesn't provoke or doesn't bring a lot of confidence to the table.
Well, the question is, did they get rid of the ghosts? Because that determines if they win the home games.
No, the ghosts are still there.
The ghosts are in San Fran. Oh, well then
Yeah.
yeah, they're
Oh
not
well,
they're
they're
not
all
winning.
over the field, Tyler.
They're all over the field. Oh, well. That's
They're
tough.
everywhere.
That's well, I mean, if Brock Purdy can stay healthy for the home games, that okay. Well, but in all seriousness, yeah, I mean, quarterback's obviously arguably the only weak spot on that team. Uh, can they stay healthy is the really
Yeah.
only question. Assuming they stay healthy for at least the majority of the season, they're a winning team and they're either getting the anywhere from 1 through 3 seed in the NFC.
I
So
see them with around 10 to 11 wins
I'd say that's fair for now until we see how the season shakes out.
because I just feel like injuries have been a factor with this team every single year. Even last
Absolutely.
year with their decent run, they still had a good amount of injuries. You saw what happened in the conference championship, losing
Yeah,
two of your quarterbacks.
I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but I was rooting so hard for the 49ers in that game.
Just
But
because
then
the
again,
Eagles kicked
38 to
your tail
7 in
in week two.
2017. So. Huh?
Just because the Eagles kicked your tail in week two.
No, it's because of 2017.
They kicked your tail again in
We
the
could have
conference
won the
championship.
first home Super Bowl instead of Tom Brady. But no. So
Well, you were going
it's
to
all
choke in
good.
the Super Bowl anyway, so uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Probably.
okay, on to Tampa Bay. Um, I feel like I have nothing really good to say about this roster, except they have decent wide receivers.
You and I constantly disagree. Let's not do it anymore. You probably have them at like 3 wins. I have them at probably like 6. Let's move on.
Divide that by 0.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, moving on. Um, there's not much conversation there. They're a sucky team. Baker Mayfield has been horrible since his last year in Cleveland. Um, I believe we're seeing Baker Mayfield career ending. You at least believe this is one of the final times we'll see him as a starter. On to the Titans. I just see this team as always being good around beginning to middle of the season, and then everything goes into a nosedive, especially usually because Ryan Tannehill can't stay healthy. I don't think they found out or found a good replacement for him yet. So I have him around 7 wins. If Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry and the DeAndre Hopkins experiment can go well, I feel like it could be around 9 to 10. But just from recent trends, I have him around 7.
I think they're going to be closer and they're going to compete with the Jaguars just because again I have that I'm not going to deny from that upset pick. I'm going to stick with my guns there. Uh but I mean, it's hard to really pick that division to have a ton of wins. I'd personally say 8 or 9 and maybe the Jaguars drop a couple and that's what caused them to compete, but that's what I'll say. I think they might actually see a time they get better during the season this year. The D Hop gets acclimated with the team, and maybe Tannehill does get hurt. Maybe that doesn't hurt them. Maybe Willis comes in. I know he's been iffy at best, but maybe he comes in and adds that running element to the team. People are following Derrick Henry. He fakes the handoff and gets to play some backyard football. Who better to play backyard football than a running quarterback and a wide receiver who arguably has the best hands in football as far as like can catch any ball thrown his way. So with freakish like athleticism. So I think they've got a shot to upset some things there. So I'll just leave it at that. Let's go on to the Commanders. We're almost done with the list.
Yep. So I feel like they've already won their Super Bowl. They
Yeah,
got
they
rid
they,
of
they got rid of
the
Jack Snyder. Should
yeah.
we just they won a Super Bowl? They should be throwing parades.
Yeah.
They don't need to do anything this year.
I
They
think
they could
they
go.
already are because week 1 is already sold out for their home game.
Yeah, they could go 1-16 winning that week 1 home game, and I think their fans would be completely happy.
Well, I
Probably
have
not,
that
but
times 4. I have them with 4 wins. I feel like if they take a next step forward and they put trust in Ron Rivera for the long haul, which especially with new ownership, we don't see that often. Usually they have a really short leash, so we could be seeing Ron Rivera's last year with Washington. Um, I feel like if they take a next step forward and they put trust in Ron Rivera, I could see them getting around 6, 7 wins. It's just a team that steals wins from people.
yeah,
I feel like it's a
that's a team that
scrappy
never
squad.
gives up. That's a team that never gives up, and you know they're gonna beat whichever team is undefeated.
Yeah. If
So
there's an undefeated team in the middle of the season, they will be gone.
exactly, the Commanders will beat them.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's gonna happen. Uh, I honestly, it's a hot take. I see the Commanders as that team who loses by the most for that 7 seed. I know it sounds crazy, but that's a competitive team. Again, we look at injuries, so if we try to take it out of the equation as much as we can, if Chase Young can get back in, stay in there, that defense becomes even better than it already is. I think they hold some teams close, and Sam Howell looked pretty good at the end of last year. He's looked good over the offseason. I like
I
their
would love
odds.
a full year with Chase Young healthy.
And that's what I would love too. Exactly. I want to see that team, what they can do.
There's a
I
lot
think
of
they could
these
be another
young
sneaky
teams,
team.
if they can stay healthy, it's going to be better for the sport of football, even if they're not competitive or if they aren't all competitive VIA record. Them being healthy and developing is great for the sport of football.
Exactly. And that because you just want to see it. Yeah, and nobody wants to see injuries anyway.
Yeah.
So other than maybe Vonta V's perfect from way back in the day, but we don't have a guy like that in the league that I know of. So currently, except maybe everyone on the Packers starting 53.
Good Lord, Tyler.
So maybe just look into that NFL. So
So on to the Seahawks before we get to your Vikings. I have them staying around San Francisco's level record wise. I feel like they have a decent schedule. I don't think it's a cakewalk, but I feel like if Geno Smith can stay at what he was last year, you bring in the new guys, you have Jamal Adams come back. I feel like they could take a next step forward. I have them around 9, 10 to 11 wins. Um, Now, if Geno Smith collapses this year, they could be around 7 to 8. It just depends on how everything goes.
In all seriousness, again, I'm not trying to slam on you, but I feel like you'll be one game below San Francisco at least, unless they get absolutely barraged by injuries. Uh, and I mean they've just built that roster over the years just so well. Um, but I don't have a problem with that record prediction because I wanted your 49ers to be a little bit higher. I think you guys are a 10 or 11 win team easily. So I don't have a problem with that at all. But I know I was joking with betting earlier, but you want to bet on perhaps poetic justice. Does Buda Baker actually carry an interception to the end zone and DK can't track him down?
No,
No,
DK DK Metcalf still runs after him in his nightmares.
no, I know, and then see, I wouldn't even want to bet that because if I'm gonna bet for you guys to lose, it's not gonna be against the Cardinals. As funny as that
The
would be,
last team you'd want to bet to beat the Seahawks would be the Cardinals.
probably. I mean, it's a division rival, so not maybe not the last. I'd probably pick them over the Texans, the
Tyler, who's
Colts.
their starting quarterback?
Don't know. Hoping it's David Blau because he was our backup for a short stint after he was Detroit's backup. So I know he's on the roster. Um, I know we got beat by whoever it was in the preseason, but who I don't really know. But anyway, I don't know. I just think it'd be kind of funny. Division rival, they upset, and then all of a sudden it's just like, what the heck is going on? But no, I think you're perfectly right. And you'll probably sweep the Seahawks. So, or sorry, the Seahawks will probably sweep the Cardinals. I apparently
That
need more
is all
sleep.
your mess ups. Sounds good. On to the Vikings. I'm going to go get my AirPods real quick to put all the sound out because I know you're about to start screaming like a madman. 9 wins.
And you had the Packers at 9 wins and Detroit at 9 wins.
See,
No, so no, yeah, so you did. So who did you have winning the division? And you said Packers last week, right?
yes.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to call BS on that one. You got. I still don't think the Packers are winning that division. I still think the Lions are the favorite by a slim margin. I think it's
Who has the
between the
best
Vikings and
running game in
Lions.
that division, Tyler?
Yeah, the Packers have the best running game,
Who has
but
the best or the best defense in that division?
the Packers also have the best defense.
And what travels, Tyler?
Yes, it travels, but again, you have to have a little bit more as well. And who had the best running game in the league last season? Green Bay. Who had the best defense last season? Green Bay.
Green Bay
Who
does
went
not
eight
have the best defense.
out of our division? I'm sorry, Detroit and the Vikings were abysmal. Did the Bears somehow get better? I believe the Bears were also pretty bad because they traded away two of their best players defensively midseason.
That defense was still hot garbage, though.
Needless to
Every
say,
defense
it
in
was
that
the best.
division
It
was
was
not good.
needless to say, it was the best in the division, and it just like it still is. And they went 8-9 with Aaron Rodgers, a multi MVP winning quarterback. Now they have Jordan Love, who's likely going to turn it over a lot more.
We'll
Not
see.
because, not just not no hate on Jordan Love, but Aaron Rodgers' stick was not turning it over as much. But Jordan Love's new. He's going to get acclimated. He's going to throw picks. It's how it works. I
If
think that's going
Green
to
Bay
cost him
clinches
a
the
few games.
division before the playoffs, I want you to come onto this podcast and tell me I'm right.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Um, again, I'll have to disagree. I think the Lions and the Vikings both need to be bumped up by one win. I think they'll have to go to tiebreakers for Detroit or the Vikings, or it's going to be whoever pulls out those last two matchups. But we'll leave it at that because I honestly see our teams as about our teams are very similar. Bad defenses and very high octane offenses. So I mean,
I don't agree with that at all, but that's an
okay,
argument for
well,
another time.
defenses who are looking to improve statistically from last year
So who's
and
your
high octane,
cornerbacks?
huh?
Who's your cornerbacks?
We have Kirk Cousins. You guys have Geno Smith.
No, no, no. I said cornerbacks.
Oh, cornerbacks. Yeah, we have entirely new cornerbacks, but we do have Byron Murphy Jr. from the Cardinals.
Who's your
So
safeties?
we have six safeties actually. Do you want me to list them all? I feel like
Who's
that'd
your
be long.
safeties?
We have Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum, Lewis Seen, who's hurt. He's probably not going to be there. Jay Ward, who made the big play in preseason. We've got Theo Jackson and Josh Metellus, who's the special teams captain this year.
All I gotta say for Seattle is Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams.
Oh yeah, that's right, Jamal Adams. Yeah, how much did he play last year? I almost forgot he existed.
I can't wait for one of your best players to have an injury so we can put that on. But
No,
Bobby
no, no.
Wagner's back, Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon,
Yeah.
Jamal Adams,
Well,
Quandre Diggs.
all I'm saying is you're hoping to rebound because the Seahawks did not have a good defense statistically last year. You guys have great players. I did not say you had bad players. Just statistically, it didn't come together.
I just believe our defense is better than yours, but
Still not going to be top 15 in the league.
debatable. We'll see what happens.
It might be. Could prove it wrong. I'm just hoping the Vikings make it to like 24 from 31. So, I mean, my expectations aren't nearly as high. But I know we were tied for 31st. I think Seattle was probably somewhere around 28 last year statistically. So, all I'm saying is we're bad. We were bad defenses statistically, hoping to bounce back. So,
All
and
right.
Brian Flores is just the guy to call that.
All right. Moving on to the predictions for week one.
All right, let's get this even more heated.
Thursday night matchup, Detroit at Kansas City. What you got, Tyler?
Well, this is interesting. News has broke today that Travis Kelce is in doubt of playing in that game. Given that that is Mahomes' favorite target, it is important to take into consideration with this game. However, given that most of Detroit's players, key players such as Jamison Williams, are also out because of suspensions from gambling, I would not bet much money on either team on this game because it is likely that either of them could drop it. However, it isn't being played in Arrowhead. I make a rule to never count out Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid. So because of that, I will pick the Kansas City Chiefs, even if Travis Kelce does not play. If he plays, it's a short lock.
So that's gonna be our first disagreement. I feel like with Kansas City missing one of their biggest offensive keys and I believe Chris Jones off their defensive line, those are two big pieces of that team that are going to be missing. I feel like Detroit's coming in with a chip on their shoulder no matter what. I just don't think Kansas City's going to be able to be ready for Detroit's physicality because I feel like Detroit's going to go in and eat some ankles and eat
No,
some
hey, it's biting kneecaps.
fighting kneecaps.
If
My
you're
bad.
gonna quote them right. Does not know who Lamar Jackson is, cannot spell, cannot correctly quote the Lions. There we go. I'm keeping tabs on you, Matt.
Good
Keeping
Lord.
tabs on you.
My point still stands. I'm going with Detroit.
I mean, again, like I said, I wouldn't bet any money on this game. This could go either way. My thing more falls on the line of don't bet against the best quarterback in the league currently, and don't bet against one of the best coaches in the league. But you also have one of the best coaches in MCDC. But Detroit has to live up to all the hype. This is the first time in 30 years they've had a ton of hype. So we'll
But I
see.
don't think they have any hype going into this game for them to win. Rest of the
I don't
season, yeah,
know.
there might be some hype, but no one's expecting them to come in and win this game.
I mean, I'm starting to see your point more and more because if Chris Jones continues to hold out and isn't playing either, then nobody's hitting Jared Goff. That
We're
offensive
48
line's one of the
hours
best in the
within
game.
game time, and he still has not signed a contract.
Yeah. So I'm starting to see again. I think this could go either way, but I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. It's like trying to bet against Tom Brady back in the 2010s, unless he was playing Eli Manning in the Super Bowl.
Fair.
That's how it is for me. So anyway, let's move on. We got Carolina at Atlanta. No surprise here for my pick. I'm picking Atlanta. I know I live in Carolina, so it kind of hurts to pick them, but I have Atlanta as one of my favorites to win that division, so I think they're going to win it, especially since it's at home. So if they split, they'll probably split on the road in Carolina, not at home. Matt,
I feel I'm just gonna agree with you. I feel like Atlanta. I feel like they have a bit more offensive weapons, and I feel like with Carolina for the first few weeks, that offensive line is going to be an eyesore, and Bryce Young is going to be running for his life. So I'm going with Atlanta, like you.
all right. Next, we've got Cincinnati at Cleveland. I already kind of gave this one away with our team overall predictions. I think Cincinnati is going to take this one, and they're gonna lose to the Ravens next week. So I've got Cincinnati winning on the road.
My prediction is basically, does Joe Burrow play? Yes, I'm going with Cincinnati. If he doesn't, I have Cleveland winning. I just don't feel like Cincinnati can win without Joe Burrow. So it all, if he is playing at kickoff, I'm going with Cincinnati. But right now, with him still, I feel like I don't think we've heard anything yet to say that he is playing. So I'll probably just stick with Cleveland for right now.
That's fair. All right. Next, we've got Jacksonville at Indianapolis. As funny as it would be to pick Indianapolis to win that game because they're home, rookie quarterback in his first outing against the former leader of the division, I'm picking Jacksonville on the road.
And we all know about Indianapolis's kryptonite being Jacksonville. So
Even though that's usually in Jacksonville, it probably still carries over in this sense.
honestly, you could probably expect a sweep of the Colts this year from the Jags, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, honestly, I think both the Titans and the Jags will sweep the Colts this year, but could
But
be
I'm
wrong.
going with the Jacksonville. So
Yep. Are we saving our games for last, or are we just going down the
yeah, we can
list?
do that.
Okay. Then in that case, we will skip that highlighted one there, and we'll go to Tennessee at New Orleans. This is a tough one. You got D Hop's first game in a new uniform, and you got Derek Carr's first game in a new uniform. I think Derrick Henry comes out, gives New Orleans a tough first loss, and then New Orleans is going to bounce back.
I feel like with Alvin Kamara being out for the first couple games of the season, especially in the first few games, it's all about who can get off to a hotter start and hold it. I feel like with Derrick Henry, I don't feel like New Orleans is going to be able to stop him. So I could see Tennessee winning in a close one.
There we go. San Francisco at Pittsburgh. This is arguably one of the toughest games to call this week
Yeah.
because you've got one of the best rostered teams week one against a great defense at home with a growing quarterback and wide receiver core. I love both these teams in terms of what they're doing with their rosters, their coaches. This is a tough one. I'm gonna go San Francisco. I trust the system more. I have a feeling week one is going to be more favorable to them than the monsoon that was in Chicago last year. So I feel like they'll be able to stay healthy and pull out a gritty win. I think it's going to be close, but I think they're going to pull out the win.
Has Bosa resigned yet, or is he still holding out?
I think he's still holding out, but because he still has to play another year on his rookie deal, he should still play either way. It's just like Justin Jefferson, I believe.
I think just to be different and just because I trust Pittsburgh's defense a bit more than San Francisco's, I feel
Hard.
like
Wait,
Pittsburgh,
oh, you trust Pittsburgh's defense over San Francisco's?
yes.
San Francisco's defense is like arguably the best in the league, maybe after Philly.
TJ Watt was injured for partial of the year last year.
That's true, but still, man, you
And
got
we
Fred
saw what
Warner,
TJ
the
Watt
guy.
did week one last year.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I mean, hey, they're both great defenses, as I said. So I got you, I got you. It's a hard, as I said, that's probably the hardest game to pick right there. So, but we'll see. Kenny Pickett might have a great day. We'll see how it goes.
Well, we're going
Arizona
to
at
the Super
Washington.
Bowl matchup next of Arizona versus Washington, the game that we've all been ready to see.
Yep,
None of these
Arizona's
games
going
even
17 to
equate.
0 all the way to the Super Bowl. Arizona's taking it all, and they're getting the number one pick from Houston. It's going to be a great year. Yeah, no, they're going to fall into the pit. They claim they fixed the poo water leak in Washington. I think they're going to break it back out for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are going to add to the amount of poop that is in that water
I was
by
about to say
just
it's
what
not
they
just Arizona on the
yeah,
field.
by what they say, yeah, by what they do on the field is going to add to it. Uh, yeah, Washington's taking this one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a shutout or if it's a blowout.
Yeah. I feel like
So
it's going to be a close game just because it's week one. But I
that's
also have
true.
Washington winning.
That's true. The only problem with Arizona is that everybody's going to count them out, and rightfully so. They should, but Arizona's going to fight to the bitter end. They're going to be that team that
For
everybody's
what we
afraid to lose
know,
to.
we'll see what happens
Exactly.
with some.
Exactly. Houston at Baltimore, pretty easy for me. I'm picking Baltimore.
Yeah, that
I'm not even going to give any reasons. Green
no.
Bay at Chicago, that's a tough one. Do we still think that Green Bay owns Chicago, or is it just an Aaron Rodgers thing? That's tough. Will we find out week one? I'm not sure. I trust Justin Fields more than I trust Jordan Love, but I trust that running game and defense more than I trust Chicago's. So that's a toss up. But I think Green Bay's not going to be ready for Chicago. I'm calling the upset. First time in I don't know how long, but Chicago's going to probably 2018. Chicago's going to beat Green Bay.
I don't even know what the point spread on that one is, so it might not even be an upset. But I don't think Jordan Love might be better by the end of the season than he is to start, and I feel like DJ Moore is just going to be a monster that Green Bay isn't ready for. Like we saw what happened in the preseason, where I think he got two catches for a touchdown and whatever amount of yards.
Mhm.
So I'm going with Chicago on that one.
Yeah, I mean they've just got too many pieces they've added that Green Bay hasn't seen yet, and I think Week One is the opportunity for some of those teams in division to kind of steal a match.
Yeah.
So, uh, so that's and especially with Jordan Love's first, outing as the prominent starter, not when Aaron Rodgers has COVID. Uh, that's definitely the point there. Okay, moving on to Las Vegas at Denver. They've got it for the sake of their fans. Denver has to win that game.
If Denver loses against Las Vegas, Russell Wilson is being carried out and tossed into the Pacific.
Yeah, there's just no way I almost want to see them lose to see what happens, but I'm picking
Well, we
Denver.
saw it
They
all
have the
last
better
year,
team on
so
on paper, but I mean, with the playmakers Las Vegas has, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I think if it's a close game, it might not be complete chaos, but if Denver gets blown out and has no offensive firepower,
uh,
Russell Wilson's going to be the most hated man in Denver.
I guess.
But yeah, I think we're both picking Denver though.
Yeah,
Okay. Philadelphia at New England. Philadelphia, no question.
yeah. So moving on.
Moving on. Miami at Los Angeles. I did say earlier that I could see Los Angeles taking that one.
And
Will I hold to it?
no, I'm calling your bluff.
I I honestly don't have a pick for this. I think it's going to be whoever has the ball last. I truly do believe, much like with our teams, that this might be, or at least with the Vikings, uh, that this might be what the season's going to look like for these teams. Whoever has the ball last wins because the offense is what drives the entire team. So,
If this
I
was a
mean,
battle between social media people,
Los
Los
Angeles would
Angeles
win
would
it.
destroy in a landslide,
Mm,
but especially head coaches, I trust Miami way more than Los Angeles. Uh,
absolutely.
Defense, I think I've got to go with Miami versus Los Angeles. I
Well,
just
Los Angeles is healthy. It's week one, so that's another thing. Los Angeles' defense is
will they
nothing to
last
sneeze
four
at
quarters
with their
though?
healthy.
Can they last 4 quarters though?
Again, have to see it, but it's week one, so
I just don't think their secondary is going to be able to hold up enough.
but if their pass rush hits home, they don't need to.
Can they hit home fast enough?
We'll see. And again, it might just be touchdown after touchdown, and whoever has the ball last, which is why I'm not really picking a clear
It
winner.
could be either or. It
I
could
have
honestly be
arguments
either
for
a shootout or we're just going for field goals.
yeah.
And then
Because
we know Los Angeles is
Miami
history.
strategy might be a bend or break defense, like a bend but don't break defense. So I see regardless, it's field goal, touchdown, touchdown, whatever it is, and then whoever has the ball last wins.
Or just force Los Angeles into a bunch of fourth downs that they fail.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
like
let them try to hit a game winning field goal that they hit the upright on.
if Brandon Staley does a bunch of shit with the freaking fourth down calls this year and loses a bunch of games, how does he not get fired?
It's the Chargers. Dean
That's
Spanos.
true. That's true. Or actually, we're forgetting the other thing besides the shootout and the field goals. Uh the Chargers could take a 35-point lead and then blow it.
Yeah.
So
They could get four
never.
interceptions in a row and still lose.
Yep. Never know. All right, next we've got Dallas at New York because we're saving Seattle. Let's see. This is interesting. New York's hosting. Dallas is the better team, but it's a home divisional game. Do I see the split? Nah, I'm picking Dallas.
Yeah.
I think Dallas splits with Washington, maybe Philadelphia, but
Just depends on
they
when
think
in the
they
year
flip
they
the
play.
Giants. Right.
Because later in the year, I could see the Giants or any of the teams snatching a win from Dallas. It's the accident waiting to happen,
Right.
but usually they do well in the beginning of the year.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's another tough one to call. And again, I mean, week one would be the opportunity. So if the Giants win, I wouldn't be completely surprised. Uh, I mean, again, that's the opportunity to take it. And they've got new toys over there. They got Darren Waller. So and hopefully he's not injured by week one. So all right. I say let's do our two teams, then finish up with the Monday night matchup because
Okay.
that is exciting to talk about, and it will obviously be the last of the games. So let's start off with Los Angeles Rams at Seattle Seahawks.
I think you can probably know where I'm going with this with Cooper Cup still being out. I just don't see that offense as big of a threat as it could be. Jalen Ramsey's gone off that defense. Bobby Wagner's gone off that defense. So I just feel like it's a depleted roster. Their offensive line is still a turnstile. They lost a lot of pieces after the Super Bowl, and they just have not regained the depth and quality of an offensive line as they used to have. So I have Seattle winning.
I'm still gonna jinx you for that, like I said in the other video. If Aaron Donald just breaks the game and beats
I
you
didn't say
himself.
anything about Aaron Donald.
Um, No, I know. I'm just saying you did say you might have jinxed yourself last week with that. So I'm gonna laugh my ass off if Aaron Donald changes the game and beats you guys
Well, we'll have Touche here
by
in a second,
himself.
buddy.
But oh yeah, and I have no clue. I might even pick Tampa Bay to beat the Vikings. I won't, but I'm scared of that. Um, but I think if I were to give advice on betting with the Rams and Seahawks game, I would probably bet the Seahawks to win. But I would be more interested in betting the over under for Aaron Donald and 3 sacks.
I thought you were just gonna say vote the under every single time, but whatever.
No, no, I honestly am picking the Seahawks to win. I just want to know how many sacks you think Aaron Donald's going to get. So
Too.
because I think regardless of the outcome of the game, Aaron Donald's gonna wreak havoc.
Depending on
So
his age, so we'll see.
I mean, they still gave him a 99 rating in Madden over
I
Nick
was about
Bosa,
to
the
comment
defensive
that,
playing of the
but
year.
whatever.
I mean, like, I'm sorry, but can we can all agree that the Madden ratings are just a lot of crap most of the time. They
Well, it
got
was like
Justin
the year they
Jefferson
had
ranked,
Lamar
but I mean,
Jackson, or Lamar Jackson won the MVP, and they had him like at a 70.
yeah, that exact it's stuff like that. Exactly. They're getting slightly better. Well, we'll say they're getting less bad, but they're still bad with a lot of the ratings. Anywho, moving on to arguably a must-win game for the Vikings, which is why I'm very scared of losing it because that's just the type of games the Vikings normally lose. However, that was under the Zimmer regime. We were supposed to lose in Buffalo. We beat Buffalo. How many miracles did it take? I don't know. But also, Buffalo tried to cheat twice. So they had 12 men on the field for a lot of plays, which stopped Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins on the QB sneak. They also got the fake catch by Gabe Davis. So there were a lot of things that happened in that game. But anyway, we were supposed to lose that game. We won it. We are supposed to lose a lot of other games too. We even had the largest comeback of the century, the whole league, um, NFL history. So it's under a new regime. I want to believe with my heart of hearts that we will win this game. It's also our throwback like week. We got our old uniforms from the 90s, back in the Randy Moss days. Why am I trying to hype myself up? It's going to be another cardiac arrest season, isn't it? Uh, I'm going to pick Minnesota. I'm not just being a homer. I think they're the better team. But with that being said, I would not be surprised if Baker Mayfield puts up great numbers against us because backups are known for doing that against the Vikings. And I won't be surprised if they win. I will be entirely shocked and disappointed if they do. But we're going to pick Minnesota, and I'm going to
Tyler,
pass it on to Matt.
Tyler. There's a little nickname the Cowboys have by a certain Stephen A. Smith. Um,
Accident waiting
accident
to
waiting
happen.
to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a team in the NFL that name and mantra could probably fit a little bit better. Because always, right when you think they're about to go over the hump, either you put a field goal wide left, you have a home Super Bowl that you could get, and then you get demolished in the NFC Championship. Um, go to the Super Bowl, and then Brett Favre throws a pick down the middle when you could have taken a knee and gotten a field goal.
Don't talk to me about Bounty Gate. No, 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 no. First of all, forget Bounty Gate. Let's throw that out of the equation. Forget Brett Favre. Adrian Peterson fumbled 3 or 4 times. I blame that loss on Adrian Peterson. But go on.
My point still stands. You just did it for me. But you said you jinxed yourself over this game, and I believe you did. Minnesota usually loses 1 to 2 games a season that they should have probably won easily. Um, I don't believe that Mike Zimmer was the only cause for your problems. You've still choked throughout history, and I think we're about to see a repeat in history of Tampa Bay winning.
No,
Mayfield's
no.
about to put up 300 on you.
No, he's gonna put up great numbers. Minnesota's gonna win. I feel confident. But here's the thing. What game were we supposed to lose last year? We went 13-4. We got blown out by the Cowboys, but that's not a team that anybody was like, Minnesota's definitely going to win this game. We lost to Detroit once. We lost to the Packers in Lambeau week 17, which we lost our center and our right tackle. So, I mean, that makes sense.
Who did you lose in the playoffs to?
The Giants, but we had to play them in the regular season, and it's hard to beat a team twice. And also, when we did beat them in the regular season, it was a walk-off 61-yarder field goals, if you want to bring up field goals, longest in franchise history.
And it was a 4th and 10, and you threw a pass 8 yards short, was it?
To be fair, if you go back and look at the film, JJ's triple covered, and TJ Hawkinson is breaking out the I forget who the guy on the front is for the Giants, but he was the guy wrecking havoc both games. He's in Kirk Cousins' face. He has no choice but to throw the ball away, get sacked, or throw it to Hawkinson. So, I mean,
They called a better play.
again, the play call might have been the wrong play call. I agree, but I don't blame that on Kirk. As much as I'd like to, I don't blame that on Kirk.
Oh yeah, going back to the Miami Los Angeles conversation real quick. Kellen Moore is now the offensive coordinator for Los Angeles, and he was responsible for putting Ezekiel Elliott at center.
I
So
will
I
now
think
change
that
my prediction to Miami. That okay, putting aside all other things for a second. Can you name a funnier way to lose a playoff game than putting Ezekiel Elliott at center and just seeing him get pancaked
Tony
before?
Romo fumbling the snap to a what was it, extra point or field goal?
And I love how those are both Cowboys.
Or what was his name? Des Bryant fumbling the ball when he could have just gone down at the 5 and they would have scored the next like play or so.
I thought you were about to say the no catch that was a catch, and I was like,
That's what I meant.
oh, that was a catch.
Debatable.
Again, I mean, there's some homerism there because it was against the Packers, but that was definitely a catch. No
Held on to it.
question. No question. Um, but yeah, putting Ezekiel at center was probably the funniest way to lose that because you see it and you're like, what is this going to be? Then you just get to see him get pancaked, and it's just like, well, that did not work whatsoever.
It just popped up in my mind, and I'm like, let me toss this point in because it just made my position 30 times stronger.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean it got me to switch to Miami just because of that. So um but I will also point out Minnesota has their throwback game. It's the first home game back in a while after a disappointing playoff loss. We've got a lot to play for. Got a lot of guys coming back. TG Hawkins got his extension. There's a big deal on the table for Jefferson. So it sounds like that's gonna be done before the game starts. Hopefully that's the
Hopefully.
case. We've got a good rookie receiver in Jordan Addison coming in, hopefully going to make a great debut. And we're going to tribute Bud Grant, our legendary head coach that passed away this year. We're going to tribute him the whole season. This is the first game to do it, and that's what I think will drive it over the edge. If nothing else, I will call upon divine intervention that Bud Grant will somehow influence football and Minnesota will win.
See what happens.
Don't know how,
So
but
on to the final game and final thing of the night. Buffalo at New York for the Monday night football game.
well, I've been high on the Jets tonight. I've been
You
high
stick
on the
with it.
Jets ever since they've acquired Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not stopping now. They're winning Monday night. They're winning the whole dang division.
If
That's right. I
Von
said it. Tyler just said it. 11:07 p.m. New York Jets win the AFC East.
on Tuesday, September 5th, 11:07. Sounds good.
Yep. Yes, quote me on that. They'll win the East.
If Von Miller was back,
Nope. Nope. Even if he's back.
Tyler, it's my turn. We're not starting this again.
What are you talking about turns? Who said I finished mine?
Are you
Okay, I'm
finished?
done. I'm done. You can go.
I feel like if Von Miller was back, it would be a lot closer discussion. I just feel like there's too much momentum going into this for New York. Now, it could be the complete opposite, where there's been so much spotlight on them. You have DJ Reed as one of the cornerbacks saying they're going to be the next Legion of Boom when they were one of the worst defenses in the league last year. So we'll see how that goes. So either they succeed or they collapse. I will be going with the Jets for this week, but I don't think they can keep it up.
Mm. Yeah, the Jets roster stacked, and it only got better in the offseason. And I mean, we haven't even brought up Dalvin Cook too. Like they got some serious weapons. So
Who's their second wide receiver, though?
Corey Davis is hurt, right?
Not sure.
I think he's out for this game. Um, so I guess Alan Lazard would be their second receiver.
We'll see what happens.
I guess that would be their wide receiver too, right? Because I mean they got their rookie of the year as wide receiver one. I
Yeah.
guess it'd be Lazard as two. Because Corey Davis is hurt. He'd be there too, but he's hurt. So
Welcome to injuries.
right. I
Yeah.
think he's clear. He'll be back like week 4 or something around then. I don't think it was a bad injury. He'll miss a couple of weeks. So by bad, I mean I don't think it was half season or even full season in the injury. But anyway, yeah, that about wraps up predictions. Uh unless Matt, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
I'll be all.
Okay. Well, Matt and I currently have 2 bets on the table. I believe the first bet, or well, not really a bet, but uh if the Buccaneers do beat the Vikings, Matt's gonna laugh at me. Uh I forget how long he gets, but we'll give him a set amount of time on the next podcast to laugh at me. Um and I believe if uh and then he's gonna whereas the depression is gonna be real the next week if the Buccaneers win, because then it's gonna have to going into Philly on Thursday. So that's gonna be tough. But and I think the other one was about the Rams upsetting the Seahawks or Aaron Donald breaking Gino's leg or something of that nature.
It was
Um
Aaron Donald in the sack amount. I think you said over under three
yeah,
and a
yeah.
half.
So if he completely game wrecks, or if he even wins the game himself, then I think I get some time to laugh back at you. So, or something of that nature. I don't know. I just don't think we should pile on the depression, since I'm already going to be depressed next week no matter what, because I know we're going into Philly on Thursday night. So
Next week about to be a great week if you lose on Sunday.
it's going to be a great week for you no matter what, because we're going into Philly on Thursday, next Thursday. You're going to enjoy it no matter what, because both of us are going to pick the Eagles.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
that's not even a question.
so I mean that's not even a question. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for you. So I need something, and I don't know if I'm gonna get it. So
Also, not to worry you, Minnesota is only favored by 6 on Sunday.
okay, that's good. I like that number. Because if it was something crazy like 10, I'd be like, holy shit, we're gonna lose. So,
That's
but like I said, I could see either way because it's still the Vikings, but we didn't lose a game we were supposed to lose last year. Or I mean, we were supposed to win.
I
Like
think
there
you
was
were
never a
favored in
crazy.
that Giants game, though.
Yeah, but just because we're favored doesn't mean like we're supposed to win it. Like in terms of what
Tyler,
I
that's how
mean,
that's
like,
how it works.
well, what I'm talking about is like back in 2018. I think it was Josh Allen's rookie year. Uh, the game that made Josh Allen famous was like week 2 or 3 in Minneapolis. He comes in and steamrolls our team when the Vikings were favored by like 10 points or something. That's what I mean by like heavily favored, um predicted to win. So um
Well, we'll see if Baker Mayfield does the exact same thing to you.
I have no doubt he's gonna put up yards. I just hope they don't win.
Mike Evans is about to be running up and down that sideline. Now, if he can actually catch a wide open pass, that's something else to be seen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only guy who can stop him is Byron Murphy Jr. So or maybe Harrison Smith comes in. You know what? I think Harrison Smith's going to get a forced fumble. I don't know why. I feel like that's happening.
You want to put a bet on that?
I'll put a bet on it if we can say big play because forced fumble's very specific. So interception, forced fumble, turnover of some sort.
Okay, because we're making it big plays, you have to do two or more.
All right, how about one big play and at least 2 sacks
That's right.
or or TFLs?
No, sacks.
It's not, well, excuse the thing is,
TFLs are too easy in this league, Tyler.
well, the thing is with Flores, nobody knows what defense he's going to call. But if he does his extra safety defense, he could send the other safety to get the blitz because everybody's going to expect Smith to do it. So that's why it's hard to really make the bet. So you know what? Never mind. I just have a feeling. We'll see if I'm right. I feel like he's going to come up with a big play. No bets, just a statement.
That'll be it.
Yep. Okay. Well, that'll be it for this podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're just getting into the feel of things. We're getting more and more into our own personalities, trying not to be, persuaded by the fact that we're being recorded. We're trying to come into our own, just act like we're talking to each other like normal. We're still trying to find our personalities a little bit. So, still a little bit shaky, but we're hanging with it. It'll only get better from here. And we should continue to make it shorter this time. So, each week should now just be a clear cut who's going to win this week for each game matchup. So the uh, the video should get shorter, and we should be having a good spirited debate for each series. So I think it will get better. Hope you guys just stick along for the ride, and we'll leave Matt to give you a quote of the day.
This man just pulled this out of nowhere like whatever.
Yeah, well, I gotta get in extra shots while I can because of next week. So, just remember, Lamar Jackson is the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens.